Hello, I'm Pastor Dave, and this is your sermon recap for Monday, August 2nd, 2021. Here we go. This week we heard David's lament for Saul and Jonathan after their passing. Now, mourning Jonathan would make sense for David because they were very close. But to think of David mourning Saul, that's a little more troubling because as Saul's reign came towards an end, he and David were more or less almost like enemies. Saul was out to kill David at times. But yet, after Saul died, after he was killed, David mourns his loss. And from David's reaction, we can actually learn a few things for ourselves. I mean, to start, we must remember that as everyone is made in the image of God, we should mourn those who pass. Now, I get there may be extreme circumstances where this is not the case, but really, we should mark the passings of people. Whether we were very close to them or distant, it is important to mark their passing because they are still children of God. They are still made in the image of God. And it is something that is right and proper to do. But it's not just about mourning the loss of people. It can also be losing or mourning the loss of an opportunity, being in a difficult situation. And really, it's just important in those times to mourn. And we can kind of see this in David, that it's important to do this. Because if David could mourn Saul, who had tried to kill him, we can mourn others. And we can mourn the losses of opportunities or situations that maybe we weren't enamored with. But even if we dislike the person or dislike the situation, we can still react to it. We can still mark the passing, mark the loss, recognize the change. But those aren't the only lessons that are really in David's work. And one is from the action itself. Through David, we can see that it is acceptable to emote our losses. We need to be able to express ourselves. We need to be able to deal with the changes, which sometimes means we might need some time away, some space between us and others. But we have to do something to mark it. It's not always a good thing to be stoic or to let things just continue. We need to do something. But moreover, it does something for us because mourning allows us to let go of the pain we experience. That's a big part of mourning, is just to get through it and to move past it. I mean, that's why we have the stages of grief. And you kind of finally end with acceptance. It's to move us through the difficulties to accepting the reality so we can move forward. And this is something that David did very well because after the lament, you don't hear of Saul and Jonathan. They're in the past. They're not really part of that new future that comes about under David. And that really shows why it is important. Because we need to acknowledge our losses to be able to move on in our lives. It's not that the memories go away. It's not that we forget someone ever existed. It's not that we forget the bad times. But we do need to find a way to move forward and not dwell on the past or dwell on what or who was lost, but to focus on the present and to focus on the future. If we act like David, we can do the same. So that's your recap for this week, probably a little longer than normal. Remember, we worship at 8:45 at East Salem, 10:15 at Otterbein. We live stream the East Salem service on the East Salem UMC Facebook page at 8:45 Sunday mornings, and the sermon is also available on YouTube as well. But until Sunday, I'm Pastor Dave, and I hope to see you in the pews.